等这样的话就可以开始。再等一下，这样也基本来了。对，昨天做的电子这样。没有，我们差不多要开始。说的 idea 的这个是讲那你要讲。好，8点半。那我们还是赶快开始。好，但是它是要跟人家就是说，但是我们去 COVID-19，可是我们要再往下讲。比如说，他举了3个例子，有人选择说，他可能在这里或者是做对，这个是视讯的，这是直播的，这是视讯的，对。它是360。对，你上 YouTube 可以对。对 ，Kevin 有事情，所以他派同事。但是有一种把它放大的话，就是会被客户那里影响到，可能是真的或者是所有客户那里如果是所以昨天就跟针对后面那有5个组就特别提出他的问题。一开始想就是说那是那个 idea， 然后就现在这样，要送那有人发了说有5个例子，如果被夸人家所以肯定得我的花费多少？所以今天可能要找一组去加进去。那当你define一个 problem 之后，你下一步要做的事情就是要把它归纳。归纳成3个出来，就是哪些是重要的这个，如果你没有时间去把它要，情况经常病人本身，那他的考试是就是他平常没有他会在自己他需要什么？需要这样的方式让你或者他的家人也会是受到影响，来有 worry， 来他会觉得这个人不是要那个是那是药学不一样，所以 you want to be as creative as possible, think of all the possible who actually gonna be impact or be influenced by this。那这个东西，这样的它是一个方法，所以最后你要想说 ，can I apply this method to my business? Should we start? Can I define it? I think so. It's a big issue, so more specific. And then within that problem, exactly. Yeah. Within the problem, can I identify the key? Sydney.
You ready?
Yeah, I think so. I think we should get going.
Okay, great.
So that's what we do.
We will go ahead and get started. Asma, if you're there.
She's on mute, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Good evening. Glad to see everybody back. We had some really invigorating conversations yesterday and some lively, looks like collaboration that came out of the first part of the design thinking workshop yesterday. Next slide. So yesterday we went into defining the problem in detail and breaking it down. And today we'll be working on building it up and making it better. Steps 2 and 3 for today. And you started briefly on step 2 yesterday, building it up, and you probably got together with your teams and worked on them further. But we're going to give you another 10 minutes to regroup with your team members, and you can finish this portion of the activity. So we'd like you to spend 10 minutes with step 2.
Okay. So I think we have 10 minutes to fill out this form. And I know some team members are missing, but if you're there, you have to take charge. Okay, so let's move and then work on 10 minutes and have, again, we probably will have you presenting the results. So Stefan, you were with, okay? Yeah. Right? Yeah, we'll have you over to, yes. Oh, so you were, when you want to join that? Yeah. There are 2 groups here. Yeah, there are 4 groups. 3 groups. Yes, exactly. 3 groups, yeah. We can form 1 group.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a problem. Yesterday was a problem.
We can pick up their
OK， 刚好可以把我们昨天不完整的主题重新挽救一下。
This is mass adherence. We don't wear masks. Not even now? Education. Yeah. You are the mask. Okay, right. Are you ready? So you can join and you Wow, that was pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad. Reason of more management process. 他们拆解方式是针对说这个问题会影响到哪些部分，然后这些事情可以Go ahead. Look at you. Hey, you want to join us? Yeah, we can have So we have like DTA
We don't have our problem.
Frustration, I talked about that. People who are lonely, lonely, depression. Yeah, or the golden rule, people in quarantine, the quality of life. Emotion. Yeah, quarantine noise, yeah. In isolation.
Improve the quality of life.
They have access to what?
Yeah.
access to society, virtual society. Society in a virtual way.
You use your
In a
hand
society,
as your
feel connected.
Facebook, or it can be as well like Twitter as well.
The frequency of human interaction.
Human interaction. Yeah. Yeah, otherwise you show all by yourself. Yeah. Oh, I know. So we want to prevent that,
Does it
okay?
have to be human? Could it be pets?
Pets, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to interact with the car.
Efficiency or what?
Well, I don't think you have to.
First target customer is people who are in quarantine.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
You are technically
So we should have a VR channel for people in quarantine.
You should approve the profits of our new venture.
No, the profit of the
The profit of humanity.
okay, first target. Yeah, they suffer from loneliness. Yeah, loneliness. Lack of human interaction.
They suffer from isolation.
Isolation. Yeah, isolation. We can go there and make them health by. I have to mentor other teams. How do that? 因为我听另外一个参与者，都是你们家的信用。
要么就抗议口罩，那为什么我们可以让这些本来上提出来要抗议口罩的人接受取消？
Their experience.
可是这个概念就是
Connecting them with
You might be
other
required to
living beings.
I don't know. 10 minutes. So 3 more
有
minutes.
点像
3 more minutes. Yeah.
Today they solve this problem. How do they solve this problem? How do they solve this
So you have to pick one goal. 所以一个或者最主要是真的可以。
By increasing social interaction.
Increasing in a virtual way.
Yeah.
Social interaction.
Those kind of things already existing. So that's kind of the same.
I was thinking that maybe just like you can volunteer for all who see them. You know, Tzu Chi done this great job. They will visit people who are in need, and then so in a way you deliver virtually. Hey, you got a visitor from Taiwan. Funny.
Taiwan can help.
That's right, right? And it's a visitor, and then they can see them and say, "Hi, how are you?"
Remember the website.
Chat with them. Yeah, or just read God loves you. God loves you.
You got enough people.
Today they solve this problem by Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah. But what if the older people cannot, or in lack of that phase, that emotional talk to them? Yeah, I know that.
Oh, you do? You have yourself?
Especially when you're thinking about problems, you need to talk to somebody. And then pretend I'm the interesting person.
Oh, you create a mirror! And that mirror, you look at it, you will actually be a window to... It's like then you actually can see people, real people, projecting out that screen. 不像 TV， 但他会跟你讲话，他很像鬼。 鬼月到了，Ghost Month. You're gonna be remembered on the wall. 超级。
我以为你也是对。
不是你想见他，就是他的窗户，或是一个像一个飞机。You know what? 你就think of a 不要英文好了，就是像那个飞机，或者像监狱那样子。监狱好惨哦！我想象比较好的就是飞机一样都讲监狱，就像小飞机窗。The window to the moon. It's a real top. And in the room. You can pretend that means like.
我们的目标。
那不是他们就是 build 那个 robots， 所以是在一个 robot 的，一种 robot， 你是说你是不是那种 robot， but they don't really know what it is.
Did you hold that? It was very interesting because I felt it because we
当然知道说他们不愿意去，就是他们不愿意去选择想 follow 的路，想要想戴口罩在上面。
Don't you have all campaign one or you have to
Which one?
你说你要No, you like which ones are the most important?
Starting with elders.
So eventually people did all So you have to define your target audience. Patients who have pets. Primarily patients who have
Yeah, people who are alone. People who are
他的问题是什么？这些病会因为他的家人、他的同业就会他的活动
Attack what? Attack depression.
他可能因为这些
Well, loneliness actually is fine. As only the emotion resolved, the negative result is the loneliness or disconnection.
怎么样去遵从对方签的
Everyone almost finished with this worksheet now?
Almost.
Are we almost finished?
Maybe one more minute.
家庭的传统
We have always like 赖皮。昨天你还赖到2小时，讨论很激烈啊。
They will be early adopters because they are the most. Right? They will be early adopters because they're really the most.
What's it since you does
They
They didn't even food today. So but you don't have to lose food. So what do you do?
OK，
I think we're almost ready. So,
Ready?
yeah.
Okay. That's good.
So, Cindy, do you want every team to present their answers, or you would start the instructions? Do you want each team to present their answer?
We don't, we'll hold off on the presenting for now, because everyone will be presenting later in the evening.
Great.
So we'll keep moving forward with the information for now.
Okay, so we have to so we have to go back. We have to go back to the working sheets now. How
Now you have to do it.
Cosmo, are you there? Yeah. Okay. So we're ready for the first.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, good. All right, so I am excited to see what you guys have built up in step 2. Next, we're going to work on step 3, making it better. And in this portion, you're going to be whatever your prototype ideas or mock-ups that you have come up with, you are going to see how you're going to apply that into the field. So how would you pilot your idea? And then how would you measure your success? What metrics would you use? And how would you improve upon the idea further down the line? So it's, you have to think a few steps ahead as well. It's always useful to do that because when you are pitching to investors, they are going to ask you very same questions. So I would like you guys to take another 10 minutes to work on your step 3. Next slide. So you will have the worksheet available in front of you to work on this. And a lot of these questions will be pertinent to your pitch that you will give afterwards. The pitch, we have extended the time to 3 minutes, so you'll have plenty of time to address a lot of these questions. And just keep in mind what questions investors may ask, and you want to address those when you are pitching. Next slide.
You want to start with the 3 and then you need theoretical first?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. So work on these questions as well as what's on your worksheet.
Okay, so we'll regroup in 10 minutes with step 3, and then we'll move forward with some more metrics and experimental planning. So this is going to be really quick. We're going to move a bit faster on the worksheet today. If you don't get to every single question, that is perfectly fine. It's just the idea that matters to us today. There's a lot more information to present. So we will see you at, again, 8:36. Right about then.
Yeah, we have to.
Okay, so we already divided the group, so you had to rejoin your group. So what we did just now is actually add it up, put it together. So write down the most important thing to improve the quality of somebody, the audience, all that. So the next one is that we have to answer these questions. We have until 36 to answer these 3 questions. Then we probably have to put everything together. So this one is really to bring one step forward. You have some idea, but how do you test it? How do you start doing it? If they see if it works or not. This is very important. And then how do you measure your success? What is success, right? You have to define that. And can we do better? How do we do better? Because if you can measure it, then that means there is a way to improve it, right? So you have to come up with how to do your pilot. Who is your target audience to do a pilot? And how do you measure if this works or not? And then if you can measure it, how do I improve if it doesn't work? Okay, so we're just 36. That means we have about 8 minutes. Okay, let's go. Very, very quick. This we can start with Taiwan. All the people who are in the 14-day quarantine, they can be tested first. All people are already sick. They're already in quarantine. Because we cannot go to the US to test it. Actually, we can. Michael, can we test with people in the US?
Sure, why not?
We can remove people, it's virtual. So if you're in quarantine, we can see if you're willing to join the program.
So how do you find out?
Facebook. And you sign up. And you get one nice
Captain America.
Camera啦，
Wow, a $1,000 camera.
Yeah, that's why they will sign up.
Who's gonna pay?
The sponsor. We get some sponsor to see if it works, and then all of a sudden it's COVID-19. You must have it to be Dominus. She doesn't buy it. Will your brother try it? But then what do you do with it? He already has it.
Yeah, but if you can, but see, this is if you use this camera and the other person uses a VR headset.
And they can see you.
Yeah, then you see everybody like you're. It's like you're in this room.
No, so you know what? You don't really just set that up. You have a party. You have an online virtual party so people can actually go to the party and just like they did in regular life. Ready? For COVID-19 party online? But they don't have VR. See, we leverage something good with that.
So how would you make the
VR, yeah. So you can go to a party, wear in the headset, and then interact with people from all over the world. Well, eventually they're gonna sell it, right? Eventually everybody loves it. If you want to say join a party in Switzerland or join a party in Germany, you can use that to join them.
Well, I mean, there's only a limited number of things, but you can have a pilot program, and then that's a way. Well, no, that's a way for them to market their product.
Later you can sell them. You can just pilot for sponsor, say 100 cents, okay, or 30 cents. 有一点痛，有一点贵。How about 30? 30,000 100 1. But after quarantine, will you try to attend a German party?
Not as often as I
We're talking about like what is new normal of COVID-19? Nobody can travel anymore.
So let's move on to the second one. What metric would you use for success?
So there, you can happy,
Oh, how happy!
Your feeling, improves or not. How will you improve on that? After doing our program?
So this is self-assessment. Okay.
Now I think it is a second life, right?
Yeah, Second Life is still around.
But it's not user friendly for old people.
Second Life is the first one.
Underworld.
That started. It's just a world where you go and you go
It's a real virtual
you can pick your body. Yeah.
Virtual real world. Yeah. You can be a teacher there. You have earned your degree. You can build a house. You buy it. It's really a real world, but in a virtual.
You buy clothes.
And it's not a game. It's not a game.
It's not really.
No, it was big.
It was big and then it kind of crashed. But now it's back again, so it's better. Yeah, we should all
So, Michael was suggesting the virtual, that kind of second life, but VR version.
But it's more real than Second Life. Because in Second Life, you can have these really weird bodies.
You don't need to build the virtual
Right. Yeah. Because you have.
You already have the real world. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more like AR. That's pretty cool. I want to actually thinking of this.
Yeah, we should do this. We should pick our idea to
Well, you guys next month.
No, I know.
So we can start with it.
Yeah. We have to get one of these devices.
I think it works.
I work with somebody.
Yeah, the thing that makes them, they have the sensor on the side where they can scan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alright, how's everybody doing with step 3? Good, okay, so I know you might probably have ideas, but we're going to keep moving forward because we have a lot more to cover. So now that you kind of thought through step 3, you can switch to your other worksheet packet and you have the experimental planning. And as Fatima mentioned, these are the questions that when you're going to find accelerator or incubator, it's going to ask you a lot of these questions almost verbatim. It's the kind of the key information you really need to have together. So we put them up, the questions up on the slides for anyone who's live streaming and doesn't have the worksheets in front of them. But this is the time to think about what are your very objective measures of how your performance is going to be measured. So who are you really targeting with your first kind of unveiling of your product or your service? So after we go through the experimental plan, we're going to get into a bit of business modeling. So go ahead and think through the experimental planning worksheet, and we will give you another 10 minutes. I know this is not very quick to look at experimental planning, and then we'll get into a lot more information about business modeling after that. So there's 10 minutes for experimental planning. Don't worry about hitting every single question on the sheet.
So now you define your target audience. What is your pilot? So you have to think, how do you tell them what the problem is, and how you're going to define your minimum viable product, and the hypothesis, and then outcome, and success criteria. What's that? 是7月了吗？你们刚才定义的问题，是因为我们要测验的开的，所以现在很清楚，就是可行的，那个实验室要就是哦，我刚好像有讲，就是那个，哎呀，一定要所以如果他们虚拟实境，包括就开，这样有我觉得会这个想法是有效的。好，那你2次他是你要怎么去试验？就是你要找谁进行这个实验。然后现在你怎样？拜拜，看你的，你的拜拜。因为不会赚钱，不的话你只能在家认识。那现在有想法，现在在这个地方就是要去教的。就是要实际写出来好的，所以我要跟我要跟你解释，现在要
The minimum viable product. Wow, nice. This.
So how do we do that?
We can buy it.
How do we?
现在中华电信拍卖。
So it's this one, experimental plan. Yeah. So how do you? Yeah. What is this? Yeah.
And we can stream directly from there to here.
No. 现在还没办法参加这个 program 之后，因为他们目前他们这个他们还在修改。对，目前他现在是可以带上，说它里面有那些互动的那些那其实我们这样看得知道他们其实他们或者是要直播串，那一块他们现在所以我们拿这台。
Otherwise you won't be able to do it. 我们现在做这件事情都可以运用。所以你要，我是在想，因为我现在做COVID-19，我公司我要怎么 You have to think exactly the same way.
Okay, the minimum viable product is.
对，所以你的 minimum viable product，所以你要先定义说我要解决的问题。那我要怎么？
I guess the minimum viable
谁
product.
是你的那不是做 stakeholder 吗？谁是主要 stakeholder？ 谁是你的主要 stakeholder？ 那他关切的是什么？他的需求是什么？所以你针对你的主要 stakeholder， 第一步我能不能设计一个实验？然后可不可以量测，究竟你的产品对他的消费者是什么？那你产品是什么？ 是原来了解过那个东西，现在是 R&D 还是那个规律的往下来？我们 OK， 我们现在是电脑，所以可以是天马行空。所以这个产品，然后它之后收听COVID-19新闻频道之后，他会了解说，我了解COVID-19它比较没有，还是要去找它。 So you have to define all this yourself. 这个虽然很复杂，可是它可以是一个网页，里面分析资讯。It's up to you. Okay.
Team member.
Yes. No. Experiment hypothesis means that what is your hypothesis? My hypothesis is that if you use this product, use this way, you will be less depressed. You will feel less lonely.
Right. So the more time you spend online,
the more time you use our service, or the more time you interact with people, even virtually, you will be less lonely. That's my hypothesis. It may not work, right? So the more time you interact with people, even virtually, the less lonely you will feel.
but not just people, right?
Wait.
Interact with
People you want to interact with.
creatures.
Earthlings. Earthlings. 包括那些小可爱的小那个水獭。So you should have an animal channel, right? Just have a channel so they can play.
Yeah, like that.
Virtual Zoo! Facebook. No, but now you can go in there. Even though you cannot touch it, but you can go in there. That's different. Go in there. Less. More happy. More connected. What does connected mean? What do you major? Connectivity means how long you spend, but are you happier when you're on it? So you should be happy. So you're happy. Success criteria. Their happiness increase significantly. What is the standard deviation? Statistically.
How to
Significantly.
那个互动式的绘本
And also very VR headset.
They have it. Yeah,
They don't have it. They're working with somebody.
Yeah, but it's not connected to the
You can wear it like a, but it's not connected.
Is it connected to you?
是中华电信吗？不是，它另外有一个 headset 是周龙的，他们在实验。
看完影片，然后下面要做
那个比较像是这样。
你有没有去回答？
对。所以这是中华电信吗？对啊，中华电信 Space。
那前面它前面两个卡梅拉，然后它是侦测你的手势，所以你盖的是用手势去控制，就像你就看到人家空中炸药有没有？那个手势在控制里面画面的切换干什么之类的。
Better goes to test.
那因为
Better to test. Yeah, happiness matrix. The matrix. How happy you are. How satisfied.
And a live product 就很便利。
这张重点，因为
Better to test.
所以老师说话，因为今天有人上来控制一下，因为他们没有电脑这么细的方法。
How majors, online majors.
How's everybody doing on the experimental plan? Probably a lot more to go, right?
那他们就是要这样去给他来测啊，是对呀。What are you risking?
Alright, so you're going to have some more time to think about those questions in a bit, but we're going to go forward with a little bit more information on business model.
Hello.
So this is probably something you've heard a bit about, and maybe some of you have done for your companies, and this is hopefully new to a few of you guys. So a lot of the information that you've seen in the experimental plan will kind of inform your business model as you carry over. You probably noticed by now a lot of the questions in each of the worksheets build on each other a bit, but are also a bit redundant, because that's really the important questions you want to answer. So business modeling is all about thinking about the future. You have your prototype now or your initial idea, but how do you make money off of it? Is it viable for the next year, or is this a really good business idea that is going to last for a while? So a business model is a way to think through all of the details and get a plan together so you make sure what might be a good idea tomorrow is still a good idea maybe in a few years down the road. So you have a sheet called the simple business model, and then also in your supplementary material at the end of the pack there should be a healthcare business model canvas, which is very similar but has a bit more information. So that you can do later. But for now we're going to start with the simple business model. So what we see on this sheet is kind of all the main important things you want to be thinking about. Who's your main user? Who wants this to be used? So the user might be the patient, and who wants it to be used might be the healthcare system. The user could be in a non-healthcare situation. The user could be really any citizen, anyone with a cell phone, and the provider could be kind of the industry, or the government, or whoever wants your product to be used and wants it to get to its users. Your location and distributor is important because how is your user going to get the product or the service? Do they need to go somewhere? Is it an online platform? Do you need to worry about how to get the product to the user or vice versa? Or is that less of an issue? Is there going to be supply or demand issues? So the location and distribution is kind of thinking about all of those locations. Then on the left, going down this column, you have who pays and how much. Is the user paying? Is the provider or prescriber paying? And then how much? How much is it worth? Do you want them paying? Is it kind of once and done? You pay a fee, I give you a product. It's a subscription pay every month for continued service. There's all kinds of one things to think, how do you get new customers? You're starting out, you've got no customers right now. How are you getting your first batch? Who are you targeting, and what makes them want your product? And then the retention value is, how do you keep them coming back for more? Once you have a customer, you want to keep them as a customer. Is your product something or your service something that once they have one of, they don't need any more and they go away? And you need to keep recruiting new customers with every single batch of products or services you want to sell? Or is it something that they need to keep coming back for more, or maybe they run out of the supply? So they need to sign up for a subscription service, or it's a service they need every single month. So these are things to think about as you think about how much value your product is worth and how you are going to get revenue going forward to continue paying bills. And all of these are important parts of business model, and knowing how your product or service and it's your user versus and how you. So we're going to give you until 9:10 to work through this worksheet. Again, you might not get to every single question, but take a look at the questions and think about who's using, who wants it to be used, where it is, where the product physically is, and then how much is it worth to them? How are you getting additional customers, and how are you keeping the customers? And these are all questions that when you go, again, to investors, they're going to want you to have thought through every single one of these in detail. So get some first thoughts on the paper, we'll give you some time, and then we'll recollect at 9:10 and take a look at financing your business.
Okay, so this practice is about the simple business model, okay, because some part was really bad. Everybody get it, or you need quick exact summary? Yes, please. Okay. So this really actually works very nicely with the experimental design. It's helping you to understand the financial. Who's going to buy your product? And how much will they pay? And how do you reach them? And how much are they happy to pay? You want them to pay a certain price, but are they willing to pay that price? So work out this 10 steps. Try to think as much, brainstorm and then be realistic as possible to fill out this information. That basically give you the idea how much can I make. Okay, if everything goes well, then you know your sales revenue. Okay, so we have until 9:10. Oh wow. Okay.
And the decider or the subscriber. That would be in this case, that would be the same. Well, I think so because this is designed for like healthcare in the US. But the decider describes it. But in this case, the decider would be the user himself, not necessarily.
And then go back, honestly, answer your own.
Yes. Yes. So it could be one or the other. Is a prescriber required? Not necessarily, but possibly a non-traditional influencer. Lawyer. So it could be the self or location. Where is the best experience? Right, I'm pointing. Okay, so the location is then the question is who pays.
这个 term 实际上同样可以应用在这个公司的产品跟服务上面。You have opposite ends.
因为我们刚刚一听到说我们要付钱，要付多少，我就说啊，我们到底要卖什么？
所以你要看说你是 channel 还是什么 service， 你是什么 service 才能 reach 到你要讲说你的 big product 要定一下。最小可行的产品是什么？Bruce 应该有一些经验，应该可以 contribute more。对，还有 what happened？
Okay, so let's fill you in. The primary user is
people who are in quarantine and who have depression, history. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To target with the high risk.
So then the decider.
And also the elder people. Elder people.
This is a little different.
鼻子很高哎，鼻子很高。
The decider is the person.
No. It's like the doctor.
No, you don't need a doctor.
Prescription.
No, you don't need a
You want a prescription?
You can self-prescribe. You can self-prescribe, or you can prescribe somebody that.
Oh, you need it. People who are depressed will not. People who are depressed will not.
要让他们有正确知识。在 even if you're prescribed， 当他我都想要买口罩，他会就买了口罩，他都真的像在。
They're probably
Their daughter prescribed.
Yeah, they don't prescribe.
Anyway, so this is what we said. Location.
Okay, family.
Primary family. Or friends.
Yeah.
Location is at home or in a foreign time.
Yeah. Oh, hospitals. Yeah.
So we cannot partner with them.
No, that's a good one. That's a good way. Until we pay, government can
但是他比较去找一个医生的状态，就是以下什么东西，然后他就会有类似赛马，下什么条件的方式，这是大家做的。那就是他可以线上去做模拟，比如说你现在休息这些东西。如果线下这个东西我会产生什么结果，它有个模拟出来。那如果说你觉得这是不能变成你去想，那个方法那是一个工作。那个还不是对外开发，要当下有那个网址。
People will access more than 300K.
对，我那时候看他们在玩那个。
Do you have to have high value?
这些东西说的，这种事情可能也是马蹄他的里面这个解决因为他们等于说现在有新人出来创业，他也没有什么，他也没有去学会计，其他这些东西是那些因为我这边很熟悉，要我去读书读课的东西，好熟悉。
但还会想跟他们后面的
因为他们后面都是搞技术，比如说我现在会做这块饼干，我就想让一家公司卖这饼干，它产业成本怎么管控，产线生产你要量产规模，你目标客户在哪里？你设定的你的目标客户每个目标客户他所带来的生贡献是什么？然后你的店头调查。我店要开在什么地方？目标，你的目标的假设好，这是女生聚集，既然那边 OK， 那个上班办公室针对是 OL， 可是 OL 你要反映它只有平日，假日不消费，那你怎么办？那你要怎么样再去创造你的营收？你要怎么去弄？我们那时候读 marketing 写了3份论文。写了3份论文，题目还制定制定自己一个 case study， 然后再开始写论文，然后找理论，然后怎样去弄，然后还要实际的。其 其实现在不需要念，但现在就是说，其实我是觉得上 MBA 或者是其实对你工作没有任何帮助，因为我们工作我是属于技术生产方面，我去念 MBA 干嘛？说实在，除了一个统计跟我有关系，但是统计说在高中我们专科的时候都学过。那只是体系的手法，它多了一些比较偏向财务面的一些技术，不是偏向工厂的技法。那可是我们出来之后，后来这个就是这考件事情的角度面向会变。同样这些事情，我用行销角度来看，你就可以思考说 ，OK， 为什么业务单位会对他是怎样看这东西？那财务单位对这些事情他怎么看？因为我们有学过一些基本的财务观念在，所以我们可以了解财务为什么会这样来看这个东西，那个业务为什么来看这个东西，就是你会去思考，因为同样一个东西，每个人看的效果不一样。对啊，人家不是说下次摸下4个下去摸哦，原来大下是因为大下是处处创造的，因为他只看他这一面。那你如果说你学会哦，原来大象你要一整体跟存在一起，因为大家是长这样，他4个讲都会，但讲的都不会，就是这样子。对。没有创业就是他坚持这是最大的。但是通常他们是要坚持。
Not a bottle is 2 days later. Not a bottle. 2 days later. And if you miss that, you have a 1 minute.
这样子好吗？那现在会变长，那现在会变长。
我不晓得。我不晓得。夜市长的话，基本上他会修正，会反正我们自己公司的同事出来。
外面的人拿出来。
那很多像很多你像你自己家里面的事情，对不对？好看，现在动不动对，小时候是老师说，长大是同事说，然后交了男女朋友是会跟大家说，从来没有爸妈说。其实都是这样子的，都是这样的。你这公司，你可以接受这种模式。
对啊。
Well, then you get the cost if you want to hear that. Then you
这2天他接下来录完。我真的。
Well, so what makes you use that?
昨天我知道是去新竹，因为他有直播上去，所以我有看到那个活动。那今天是什么？有时候以前是新竹。
哦，对。就他都他。
You will be CBT model.
No,
你应该都是属于这种 case study。
对啊，没错。那等一下大家都开始来互相分享。
高峰，或者是你的那个推广通道，或者是能够帮你依附人种这个或者是翻译的那个管道或者业者。Right, they have to be 需要旁边的人是这个一般活动跟下载。社交媒体。依附人，对话定。So then monitoring for subscribers. So that means, are you subscribing as or is somebody paid?
你们现在有在想礼拜2晚上在据说我们有一场，
Yeah.
我们想一个
Yeah.
可以想象一下是晚上。
Yeah.
Everything is not real. You want to sound like reality.
Yeah. We decided
We're making Westward.
The problem is that any project you really ask the third one, it's not
I think you can even
you have to say, okay, we're not doing this project.
动力啊，这种动力就是有可能
Is that
I'm not sure. Actually, I watched the second one. I watched it and I watched it.
礼拜晚上会有。
But the third one is
Third one is really good.
really good. Okay, yeah.
I finished it in 2 days.
What? What's the tease? Do you know which one? How close to interview better peer?
How, I think it means how to close the loop. I think that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
How to close between delivery.
Yeah.
所以没有，他是说激励什么样的方式？
Yeah. So there's some, maybe some gap or something.
I don't know how to know. We got stuck. What came back for trans?
No. Macro trends of VR, 5G. 5G definitely is a new macro trend in VR too. COVID. Yeah. So there are a lot of macro trends. 5G, new technology, and also AR, VR, because these are all Yeah. More dynamic, right? So the thing is that I think the issue is that okay, in Taiwan you have these quarantine hotels, but in US you don't, or some places you don't. Then how do you close that loop? How do people know? Amazon, you can order it from Amazon. Once you know about
I'm
it.
still not clear on what the service is. We were talking about having an AI virtual.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. What if it's a human? It's like in the old days, they say, oh, learn Chinese in AI. And then now actually you have a teacher. Maybe somewhere far away. And then that actually works just fine. That's what I thought. You know, if I'm lonely in the US all by myself, and someone in the Asian called, like, showed up and then give me some Oh, so you want an AI that's forever there? Like her! But that's the sad story. Wow. Sad people really think of nothing but sad. Yeah, her.
Well, he had his game.
He did?
Yeah, he did. Remember?
What's her name? Oh, okay. So basically, we are having a herd in a VR form, right? So maybe this facility herd will show up. Sound was started like retention value. So do you know how much they will pay? So you don't have a service, basically. Okay. Since you don't know where you guys to tell other teams.
Well, we decided.
And then go help other teams. Don't stop. You gotta help them do some homework. Yeah. Now you have a better idea what's going on here.
这些本身的力量是有蛮表，然后但是会说餐厅组合的优惠。
餐厅组合的优惠。果然是食用专家。I heard a keyword.
做这个局可以。
所以你们现在 education channel or what kind of service are they providing?
事实上我们会想要做一个active website， 他会当然他每个人需要注册会员，然后他会经过设计中心的学习，包括我们的一些小测验之后，他会得到一些需要的医疗资源的 discount。因为很多人买不到口罩。
So you learn about this disease, but they also get benefit with.
对。
Oh, that's good.
重点是我们需要他有正确的防疫知识，才能拿到这个产品。
So you have to test them.
对对对。
你要考他就对了。
对对对。
那他可以作弊吗？比如开美电脑吗？
没关系，我们重点是他要学到这样子。
怎么保护自己，保护别人？
那我们就从中去获取这个利润。
Have you think about also apply this to your own economy? This is a good idea. Actually, this is a good idea. You actually share with them, to help them to learn important news or information and even knowledge. And by doing so, they can get some nice discounts, services,
台
right?
湾有个市场，就是之前中卫的口罩很流行，
对，很多颜色，对。
代购费4000块，愿意哦，一堆人排队哦。
所以你要上完这个课，你就可以拿到中卫的口罩。
就说他愿意买，然后而且贵这么多，他还愿意接，但他有一个需求，就是带起来。
Great. How's the business model going? Not bad? Okay.
That's kind of scary.
It could be worse than that. Yeah. There's a lot to it. Okay, so hopefully that's a good introduction to some of the aspects of business modeling. The worksheet I mentioned earlier, the business model canvas, is a really commonly used methodology of laying out a business model. That would be something definitely worth taking a look at after this workshop is over. We're not going to go over it just because of time. But definitely take a look at that, and you might have already seen that or opened it out earlier. So we're going to go forward a bit and cover funding, because that is really important and also can be a bit intimidating. Finding funding when you're just starting out is really hard because you have to know who to approach, when to approach them, what information you need to have with you to get the funding, have some idea of how much you need, and there's a lot of terms and vocabulary involved with startup funding that can make it all a bit overwhelming. So what we're going to start with is a bit of an overview of the vocab of funding and the main sources of funding. So you kind of get a sense of what are the differences, what are the options, things to be aware of. And then we'll go forward with a worksheet on funding and the questions that you want to thought through before you go and ask somebody for a lot of money. So the first thing is funding stages. So you might be familiar with what stage you're already in. Probably everybody's project right now is in the seed funding stage, where it's just an idea. Some of your companies that you're working on may be already in Series A or B, which is fantastic. So on the screen and in your sheets, you should have this same slide with funding stages. So before you have any prototype product data that says an idea is good, when you just have an idea, that's when you're going to ask for seed funding. You have a good idea, you say, hey, I think this would be a great service or product, and you get someone else on board that wants to fund it and say, I also agree this would be a great service or product. That's where seed funding comes in. When you have a prototype or some demonstration that your product can actually be feasible and you're working on making it a bit better, you've got some proof of concept. It doesn't need to be the most ideal form of it. You're still working on figuring out kinks, but you can show that it works and you have some data to show that people might actually use it and want it. That's when you're in your Series A round. From Series A, you have your product, you kind of worked on optimizing, now you're going to work on scaling it up. How do you take your kind of pilot city that you're testing out your product or your service in and move it to multiple cities or multiple countries? How do you build your business from maybe just a few people now that you're getting more orders or higher demand, you need to find maybe scaled up manufacturing or hire a few more people to take care of administrative or technical businesses that are coming up. So that's when you go to Series B funding, and you're getting money to really take a good idea that's kind of showing it can work in a small location and spreading it out. And then finally, there is Series C funding. So this is all about increasing your market share. So maybe you're in a space where there is a competitor or multiple competitors that are eating a lot of the market. So this is when you come out kind of with the saying, you say, I'm going to make my product the dominant product on the market, or within this industry, my brand is going to be the one that people know and go to when they think I need this thing or this service. So that is Series C funding. After Series C, most startups are either bought and acquired by a larger company. So in the PillPack example, Amazon acquired PillPack, and that is a fantastic end to that startup story. Or they go public and they offer stock an IPO. So the other option is also to kind of keep running your startup by yourself if you don't want to. And you can go public with that, or you keep working with it as you're acquired by a big company. But you want to have a sense, what is your goal? Is this your kind of baby that you want to follow all the way till the end, whether it dies or whether you're going to stay on the helm of the ship leading it? Or do you have fun making up new ideas and say, this was fun, I learned a lot, big company can take over, pay me several $1 million for it, and I'll go think of some new idea and do the same thing all over again, or go retire and buy myself a boat. So those are things that are a bit further down the line to think about. But as you get into Series A and Series B funding and things are starting to look good, have an idea of what your goals are and if you want to have it work with it. So then we get to sources of funding. There are more sources that are listed on this slide and on your sheet, but these are the main ones you'll see. So you can always put your own personal money into your business. You can ask friends and family. Doing it yourself is generally referred to as bootstrapping. A good way to show that you have faith in the outcome, but also you're putting a lot of your own personal savings on the line. Crowdfunding is getting small investments from large groups of people. So that's investments in exchange, small investments in exchange for small bits of equity, small investments that are kind of pre-ordering. If you have a product, you say, I'm going to give you money for my order now. If it takes you another year to actually make it, use the money now to build a business, and then we'll get the product when it's ready. So crowdfunding can kind of involve a lot of different forms of getting money. But then the easy way to do that, there's social media, there's Kickstarter, and Indiegogo are all crowdfunding platforms. The next is angel investors. And I know people here, angel investors and venture capitalists, they're the same kind of thing. They're not quite the same thing. Angel investors generally invest from $5,000 to $500,000 in businesses. They're more for early stage businesses. Generally, an angel is a very successful businessman or woman who did the same thing, now has plenty of money to spend, and they can kind of be a personal mentor if you find the right one. So there are networks of angel investors that help you match. You have a conversation, and they can decide if they'd like to support you. And that is generally for earlier stage startups. And what they do is they give you money, and then at some later date, that's exchanged for equity. Venture capitalists, a bit different for angel investors, or for maybe a bit more developed, maybe Series A or B startup companies. They are also exchanging money for equity. And that's a lot of wealthy people that put their money together, pool it together, and then a venture capitalist fund kind of manages where it all goes. So maybe one venture capitalist, their money is going into 20 different startup companies, so they have a bigger shot or a better shot at getting a return. And venture capitalist deals are generally, I think the average is $11 million per deal. So venture capitalists, if you need a lot more money, you've got to show a bit more, but that's where to go. Then there are incubators and accelerators, which also sound or can be confused for the same thing, and they're not quite the same thing. Incubators, again, are for early stage startups. You have an idea, and it's kind of for growing growing the idea. There's generally not a firm time limit on how long you can be in an incubator, maybe like a year and a half to grow your idea. And these provide not just funding, or incubators don't really provide funding, but they provide resources and office space. You can't underestimate if you're trying to grow a business, you need to have meetings, you need the computers available, you need a conference room to make it look like you are a business. You don't want to bring somebody into your home and say, well, we don't have anything to kind of provide you the resources to look very legitimate as you're presenting yourself to other companies, to make good deals, get clients. It's a good place to start and get mentorship. Accelerators, again, are past the end of each. They can provide funding and have like a whole bunch of work to do with the accelerator specialist, networking, mentoring, growing your business, and then you're out of their funnel. And hopefully you are more successful. Content competitions are wonderful because there's no return. You don't need to give away equity, you don't need to give any money back, and it's great to practice pitching. So there's pitch contests. Sometimes innovation centers have them, the cities have them, schools have them. I don't know if there's Shark Tank in Taiwan, but TV shows like Shark Tank. It's a wonderful way to practice presenting your information and get money that you don't need to pay back to anyone or give up a portion of your company. Grants are the same in that you don't need to give them back. You can get them from government, other academic grants, private foundations. If you are spending maybe a specific disease, space, or disability, don't underestimate that there could be a really rich person that has this disease that is willing to give millions of dollars in a form of a grant if you research their foundation. So grants take a lot of research just to find the right ones, because they're out there, but they are very competitive. And then loans. You can always go to a bank and get a small business loan, but obviously you do have to pay that money back. So those are kind of the main ways of finding funding. There are other ways out there. These are the most common and the ones to be aware of, and be aware of the differences between angels and venture capitalists and incubators and accelerators, and know what stage you're at, what's best for you, and then where you want to grow from there. So in terms of finding funding, what do you want to know before you go ask for money? So you want to show that you've had some success, and that goes back to the experimental plan. You thought through metrics and how you want to test. So you want to understand your metrics and be able to show that you can be successful. You want to understand your market. Have you done market research? Do you have a plan for growing? You want to understand who your resources are. Are you affiliated, or can you be affiliated with maybe a university or a healthcare network? Because they might have their own resources. Do you have a friend that is in a VC group or is associated with any of these that you can ask, hey, can you set me up or introduce me to someone? Do you have a citywide innovation node? Think of where you are, what's around you, who you can ask for help, and what kind of help they can give you. And not all the help you need is going to be monetary. Some of it might be office space or just connections and mentoring. Don't underrate that type of resource. And then finally, it's really important to know how much you need. Ballpark, you don't need to have an itemized budget, but how much do you need for equipment if you're maybe setting up a lab or need to manufacture things? Do you need a manufacturing line? How many people do you need? Do you need software engineers, manufacturing experts, people to answer phones and talk about what services you're offering, understand what human resources you need, and then again back to other resources you need: office space, lab space. Are you fine working from your computer from home with a few software engineers or computer scientists working from their computer from home? So kind of go through each area and think, what do I actually need? So we're going to give you, this is going to be very quick. We'll spend about 10 minutes to work on this. And then, heads up, next we're going to be having you pitch your ideas. We'll give you a little bit of time for prep, so just keep in your mind you'll be pitching. But go ahead and take 10 minutes to think about how you're going to find funding.
So I hope that you thought about this. Which stage are you? And so you have two questions to answer. One is the project you're working on, and also one is your project, right? So how do you get money? level in biotech, the $80 million is a lot. Think about what money can you get. I think that's what we teach. People who don't understand how much money you can get without paying back. It's important to open your eyes and see there are money that you don't have to pay back. For example, government money, grants. Okay, it's very, very important. Use government resources. You don't want to take angel money or investment money too early because that will be your equity. You lose your company's control. So think about all this. Goes for the project. If you are doing this project, where does the money come from? Who can give you that first batch of money? Or where can you apply for money for that? But on the other hand, if it's your company, your product, where do you get the money? Maybe you come from selling some products, right? So think about both sides. Okay, you're going to pitch very quickly later and also next Thursday. 我们有5分钟，剩下5分钟，然后想看 funding 从哪里来。
But this funding exercise is for the project.
Yeah, for this project, for this project. I told you they have 2 funding sources to think about. One is from this project, one is for their own project company. Yeah.
I think so.
SPI 现在比较有钱，no SMBA 比较有钱啊，小镇上确实。
This one we could
Self-funding, bootstrapping, unless you do promo or do promo. Yeah. I don't think you can get into investment. Maybe not.
这个网站就可以做好，最多给他2个月。现在之前这些经理第三方太方便了，对那个整个都不对。crowdfunding 我们需要做众筹也好像就是诈骗集团那样，买空卖空。基本上我们本来是要教育，让人可以得到正确的防疫，通过了我们的一些社区的资源小测验之后，可以得到防护包的一些 discount。然后说口罩，怎么可以送？那只会做行李我又不是。对啊，实在不够。
我们他连接了 Smart Cash 他们你跟
新手啊，我们好几本上知道了，但是你要照，重点是他们现在缺嘛，缺帮助资源，可是你可以学习正确的知识，又可以得到假设你的知识那我们只需要买空卖空的例子，把产品技术上是因为我们需要放没有因为台湾不缺，他可以是国外的客户，美国。那我们刚刚在想说，我们的这个 content 应该说不定我们第一个是要帮你，就是build这个网站的技术管理，然后也许简单的1个月2个月可以做。你现在讲的是我们在公司的状况。对，就是互动式的。还有就是我们要从方面为方面。对，就要想办法去找这种需要。因为台湾都很佛 西嘛，一折就是300块，可是国外买不到，你有钱买不到，你要看你是哪个阶段，如果你买3个想法，所以我们就可以跟中卫啊，跟那些酱料啊合作啊，借钱就一开始这样说，我不知道你想还是没有很想买中卫，因为这个艺术非常，要不要买就选它是全对啊，它有的时候很多种颜色啊，又防护又fashion，你这个颜色就很漂亮。要有人代购可以去买一盒，不是一盒是300块另外算，代购费1000。就排队的费用和那个帮你抢购的费用。因为他之前都放电商，就是这样抢在抢，然后抢得到，他其实很多都有。有段时间，中卫的口罩店同事用，因为他们都写机器人。然后就是抢，然后他们就接一堆单。第一开始大家去单接单，没有那么多了，但是他们1500就是跟我们就很零用钱一样，会减少。你有多少通通到货给他？藏绿色，我是靠我同事他们师承给我的，我说帮我弄给2个。没有专门，有兴趣的。他们现在雅虎跟那些都开始在绑，然后他们说最近是做。对啊，这不是古时候我小时候嘛，对，各种手段开始打。
所以现在又开始。
真的哦，前一阵子有新闻，好像就是现在这种比较受
也都是连自由真的没有，
所以一直要卖地。
好，我很简单。对。
音响，做好一点的音响。
因为我们没有。
So this is really just practice for you to fix all these components in your own slide. Your own business. Easier things to do.
那我很希望我们那个单位现在正好是这个设计，因为那时候我们创业的时候，就是了解去中卫是非常企业型，然后那我才可以说技术，那所以后来。
因为这个模式我们其中它就是好了，来。
How's everybody working on the funding? Is that going okay?
It's kind of a donation based in Taiwan. In the US, probably more like this.
Alright, we're going to recollect some funding. Hopefully that was a good discussion. Well, questions are important. As we decide to go out to get the money, that's pretty important. But next, we're going to move to another really important part of having a startup company, and that is how to pitch quickly, and how to pitch on the spot, which is difficult, and we're going to put you on the spot. So we are going to give you 10 minutes with this pitch template, which should be in your pack as well. Go ahead and fill it out. You don't need to use this. This is just kind of some information that would be presented in your pitch. If you want to kind of fill in the blanks and use this as the pitch you give us in 10 minutes, that is fine. If you want to totally not use this at all and wrap it into a story or package information in some other way, that is perfectly fine there's no right way to do a pitch as long as you get me or the listener to care about and to understand what you're doing, what your product or service is, why it's important, and that it has a viable chance of actually being successful. So these questions are a guideline. So we'll give you 10 minutes with the template. You can pick one person from your team, or you can split up roles. So go ahead, make a 3-minute pitch, and then in 10 minutes we will just ask each of you, each of your teams, to give us a 3-minute pitch.
So the job is to do a 3-minute pitch. You can either adapt the template, use the template, or use your own template. Okay, so you decide what you're gonna use. If you can use this template, you can just fill out the plan. Or you can use the kind of template or the style you want to do on your Thursday pitch. It's up to you. Okay, but it's only 3 minutes, and everything will need to present. After 10 minutes, we have 10 minutes to practice. I think we're going to do it. Okay, you decide to. So, who cares about this so much? CY International. Okay, CY International. We care about humans. Earthlings, okay.
So then you have another one.
Very similar. That is similar. Work through the process. Now you have to put them together.
It is actually
You have no pressure.
So if you look at this elevator pitch template, if you look at say, oh, our target customers are they suffer from we can improve something by. So this means amazing. What can you really make? Right? Today they try to solve this by what? That means the current product, the current technology that's in the market. Your competitors. What they try to do is solve the problem. But can you do a better job? So what's your solution? Yeah. So you try to understand what is in these things before you write it down. Writing something. 它这个pitch template 的意义上面说，你要改善，你要增进一个或很多的pitch，以后怎么样说，避免的是让人多点，说是。And one chain 的这个取得的体验 whatever，OK。然后你的 target audience 要有些类似 Buster Buffer， 人类的very clear。他们的他的 suffers， 他们的痛。You can do what? You can do what? Like what? Like 多少？所以这件事情是什么事情？我上一次讨论有个 matrix， 你们也可以做实验，真的可以发现它的确有增加有改善。我们 solution today they try to solve 这块有点 confusing， 这块是说现在既有在市场上现有的技术跟产品用什么方法来解决这个问题？但是问题就是，但是它主要就是没有它为什么会让这个满足市场需求？因为我们看到一个更好的产品，所以我们的 solution 是针对什么东西来 attach 针对什么 start with 什么，然后把它每一个这个描述性的文字可以变成你的产品或你的公司的。投资人才听得懂，才认为说你是可以投资。 你们没有吗 ？Everybody has it. OK， 这是赶快拿。Everybody needs to have this. 哦 ，OK。你刚开始你自己的语言跟你自己描述现有的 ，they try to solve the problem for this 现有的产品的技术，但是还有什么叫可以改进？那就是你的公司，你可以攻击。No. Now it's doing your project. You want to work on a project to get anything outside of it. 如果你连这个难的都做得出来，你的公司可以做得出来。That is the practice. 你如果连这个难的都做得出来，你技术是 That's true. 对不对 ？Supposedly. 我再打一下。They want to work on their own project. I said, no, let's work on the group project.
What? The quality of life for patients in quarantine, who are in quarantine, because our solution is not only for people who are in quarantine, it's also for people who are very depressed, but they are being quarantined.
Right.
So, what she's trying to say that the target audience should be consistent. Like if you're talking about, we're trying to help the people who are in isolation, feel isolated. Quarantine is just one way, right? Maybe you
So the question is who you're really paying. Because in Taiwan you actually have people in quarantine.
Yeah, so I don't think it's quarantine, it's like people who feel isolated. Right, because Dr. Shensen, he could drive around, but he feel isolated. Quarantine is one way. I know, yeah. You are not always available.
I'm not always available, right?
Yeah.
And I only want to talk to
So are you trying to say that we have a virtual lifeline for people who feel isolated?
virtual lifeline.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be. They can call
They can at any time. And then volunteer from the world will answer. And I can volunteer, I can sign up 3 hours. I'm happy to talk to anybody from the world for 3 hours.
Oh, wow. This is actually a good idea.
That is how you do it, okay?
Thank you for joining me.
See, I got another one. She got another one. She's the best HR recruiter in the world. Yeah, I think that is something really can work. Yeah. Okay, so Taiwan can help. And recruit bunch of people who actually are willing to sign up 3 hours a day to talk to people. You know, you don't want to do with that. 10,000 girls want to. They want to practice their English. Right? Huh? I know. Well, Dr. Shensen is his friend. Dr. Shensen. Very lonely, living in New York. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you sign up 3 hours, you don't know who you're going to talk to. You just, it's kind of like that world vision or adoption. You adopt whatever. You can even, yeah, you can even.
Alright, how is going to take practice? Is someone ready to volunteer to be first?
Siwa International, are you ready? We will be done in just a few minutes. I think we
Okay, whoever talks, can you stand very close to the microphone, wherever the microphones are actually, so we can hear you well?
Okay.
We need a few more minutes, but we are there. We are almost there.
Okay, did you put everything together? Are you ready? Somebody has to pitch 3 minutes. We're going to try to. Okay? Actually,
听说瑞典是他们，因为他们人蛮无聊的，然后他想开放，就是给你想要多认识瑞典 culture 什么，他会，因为他本来也有一个专辑，就可以打电话去，就是比如你是瑞典人，瑞典谁，可以打电话。
You are really.
Well, I am. I'm a TA.
So why are there two cameras here?
This first one is just for this one. This is 直播, right?
This is for. This is just for this.
Yeah, streaming.
That's streaming.
That is streaming, and that's 360 degrees.
No, that's 360.
Oh, that's 360. Which one is 直播?
This is 360. This is panoramic. No. One is
Oh,
only panoramic.
yeah, Sarah told you. One
Oh,
is
this is only. Where is this being broadcast to?
YouTube.
No. Just online. On Zoom.
Oh, this is being broadcast on Zoom?
On Zoom. I just didn't show the.
你们好了吗? Any team wants to volunteer? First? You? Okay.
All right, great.
Today we have first team ready to present.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh,
Thank
that's-
you for going first.
This one is
Nice
this?
and loud so we can hear you during your pitch.
Yeah.
Hello, we are Upet. And we care about pets and pet lover. Our goal is to improve the quality of pets' life and all the owner's life during quarantine. So our first target customer are COVID-19 patients who have pets and vet and pet hotel, because they suffer from isolation from their pets, and we can provide a connection between pets and their owners. And today they try and solve this by asking friend, family, but the problem is their friend, their family might have difficulty to help the owners. So our solution is to pair needs and supplies, starting with a matching platform between pet owner and pet hotel, or between pet owner and us. So they will be our early adopters, because pet hotel or hospital, and we will reach them through internet. Our product and service will be paid by the owners because they care about their furry babies. That's it. Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you for going first. That was very brave to be the first one to pitch. Sounded good. You hit all the points, and your idea sounds very solid. I'll be curious if anybody follows up with any of these ideas. You do have to let us know. I think it might have any criticisms, but I think that was a good start considering you had only about 10 minutes to prepare for that.
Yeah, great job. I really enjoyed that you included who would be the early adopter to begin with. So thank you for including that.
All right, and everybody stands next.
Next. So Siwa International.
International.
Okay, we have second team. Those are not done yet. Yeah. No, not yet. Okay, we got a second team, Siwa International.
Yay.
Hello, we are CY International, and we care about people's mental health.
This is working. Okay,
No, it's actually not.
I'll go.
It's blinking in and out.
So you want to use another one? Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. There goes my 3 minutes.
Wow.
This one. Wow.
Our goal is to improve the quality of life for people who feel lonely, including those in quarantine. Our first target customers are people who suffer from depression, loneliness, and who lives alone. We can improve their mental health by an international hotline and in a virtual way. Today they try and solve this by social media or SOS telephone line, but the problem is it cannot replace the real interaction through face-to-face chat. Our solution is to attack depression and loneliness, and starting with people who live alone. They will be our early adopters, and we will reach them through doctors and quarantine hotels, for example. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, and our product service will be paid by the government. We will go through the grants and also crowdfunding. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Great job including at the very beginning when you said who you improved the quality of life for. You targeted people in quarantine, which is really relevant to here and now with COVID, but also including the subgroups of people with depression and mental health issues relevant. That was smart to include it right there at the beginning so everybody can get that it's relevant now, but it will continue to be relevant.
Yeah, just adding to that, I really like what you stated, what was currently existing, and then how that doesn't work for everybody and what you're going to put infrastructure, which is really helpful.
All right. Group number 3.
Hello. We are walking ads. We care about people who are not wearing masks. Our goal is to improve the experience of wearing masks. Our first target customers are people who don't wear masks, obviously. They suffer from being forced to wear masks or not being aware. We can improve wearing mask population by promotion strategy. Today they are solving this by official announcement, but the problem is people don't like to be forced. Our solution is to attack concept of wearing masks, starting with providing free masks by company or giving discounts by wearing masks or other benefits. They will be our early adopters because of the promotions. And we will reach them through companies or social media. Our products will be paid by companies' marketing fee because they value the company image and reputation.
Very smart to get people hooked with the promotion and then get companies invested because they care about their image. Because, I mean, you get that right on. Who doesn't love a promotion? And you get good marketing strategy, the strategy to get people hooked in the beginning. Very all around. That was a creative approach to getting people on board.
Yes, and I also like that these were provided to most people where they didn't have to seek it out. So it took out one extra step for the individual who may say barriers that I don't have access to it, but you have provided access to it. So increasing that. So thank you.
The last team? Wanna try? Okay. Well, one more team. Yeah.
Okay. We are educators, and we care about stopping the spread of COVID-19 viruses. Our goal is to improve the quality of the ways to deliver the correct and latest information and access to the correct knowledge. our first target customers are the US people. They suffer from no medical resources. We can improve people's knowledge of COVID-19 by our education website. Today, they try and solve this by nothing. But the problem is the shortage of knowledge and medical resources. Our solution is to attack ignorance, starting with teachers. They will be our early adopters because they teach people. And we will reach them through the internet. Our product service will be paid for by the product vendors because they value our reach of the people.
We're going to pick a very relevant issue. That's a lot harder than it sounds. Good luck. That would be wonderful. No, those are all very strong. I don't know much else to add. That's
I like that you took it from a different viewpoint, a different vantage point, from the educator standpoint, which is a great one to take. And yeah, educational resources are always valuable. Thank you.
So, we give a round of applause to everybody. Fantastic job. So pitching is really important, and if you have a company, you should always have a pitch in the back of your mind. We call it an elevator pitch because if you find yourself in an elevator with someone who might be able to fund you or is interested, you want to be able to pull it out really quickly without thinking about it. And then by the time they get off that elevator, they are convinced that they want to support your idea. So it's always a good idea. If this is your first time putting together a pitch or thinking through what you want to include, it's a good idea to have one relatively memorized and always in the back of your head so you can pull it out whenever and it's quick. And if someone asks more questions, you can always give more information, but they get the gist of it after just a few minutes. And you're always prepared to give it because you should be very excited about your business and this potential for success of your idea. So this is a good exercise and a good thing to be aware of and having your toolbox moving forward. So that kind of wraps up the workshop portion of this workshop. That's going to tell us a bit about Boston and why we hope we see you all here in the near future when it is safe to launch all of your businesses or to continue them.
Thanks, Sydney. So I just want to add that with your pitches, a lot of what's in your pitches is what you learned in the workshop. So you start with a problem, you pick up patient persona and describe that problem to whoever you're pitching to, what user needs are lacking so that the investor is like, yeah, I understand that problem. I might have had that same problem. And then you go into your solution and what you've done to work on the solution. So having a pitch when you come to Boston is very, very important. So I just want to talk and touch upon why Boston is a great place for starting your startup there. So one thing that makes it really unique is that there's funding at all stages of development. There's more strategic funding in Boston because a lot of investors know that a lot of cutting edge things come or started there because of the strategic partnerships. They'll be more willing to do seed funding versus traditionally more later stage investments are made. Series A might be more common, but in Boston there's plenty of opportunities for seed funding, which sometimes may be a challenge in other places. The next important aspect of why things move quickly and accelerate in Boston is the comprehensive research infrastructure, and namely a lot of the hospital networks and the academic institutions that drive these partnerships. So research in a clinical trial to show that it works. That's basically the bread and butter of how to show that something is working. So, and with that, you'll need a physician partner. But after you've networked with people in Boston or through the research universities or through the accelerators or incubators, people can connect you with some of those physicians that are working in those fields. Next is that there's an entrepreneurial spirit in Boston. Like we mentioned, the fire truck on top of the MIT Dome. It's really valued, and everyone knows that if you're in Boston, you're there to accelerate your startup. There's a lot of growth and network assistance through the incubators. A lot of people are networking, so it is really important to have your pitch handy and be constantly talking to people, constantly tapping into who you know and how they can introduce you and make introductions. In this way, there's a direct approach to business relationships. There's a lot of, you will have to ask people for help, or you'll have to demonstrate how you are mutually beneficial to somebody else and make it a two-way relationship. And one other example of strategic partnerships that are happening in Boston, this is just one example, but a lot of government consulates have set up shop making incubator spaces, accelerators on the contingency that if they provide funding to your startup, you'll bring that startup business to operate in their respective countries, let's say it's Canada or Belgium or Germany, so that they can scale their tech ecosystem in their own country. So a lot of people are set up to do these strategic partnerships. Next slide. And this is a map at a glance of some of the research university innovation centers. As you can see, there's a lot to choose from. So if you can make some connections at these universities or see what type of innovation help they can give for early stage startups, this is one avenue for that. Next slide. So a lot of what we have been talking in this design workshop has been basically the idea stage. This is where entrepreneurs get inspired, they learn best practices, develop skills, validate their ideas, and begin to build their team and product. But learning a little bit about some of the work that you guys have been doing at the DTA, it sounds like a lot of you guys have this stage under your belt, and you guys are ready for the launch stage. So in the launch stage, entrepreneurs establish and formalize the company. They develop the product, get feedback from customers, and prepare for the next step. So this may include needing a workspace, preparing for seed funding, launching with seed accelerators, and pitching. These are all important things for the launch stage. So this is at a glance some of the companies in Boston that provide incubator and accelerator spaces for this launch step. And we have a more detailed list that we'll provide after the workshop to the facilitators, but I just wanted to touch upon that for right now. Next stage. And then after the launch stage, the startup proves their utility and you're scaling up. So usually this requires funding, and this is where you might, from seed funding, you'll move on to angel investors and VCs. So there's basically a lot of investor networking that has to be done, and the seed and VCs, they're very numerous in Boston. Next slide. So this is just at a glance a list of the incubator spaces. As you can see, there is a lot of incubator spaces, so they're always growing as well, but this is at a glance some of them. Next stage. And then the launch stage, these are some other workspaces. If you're not needing so much mentoring, but just somewhere to set up shop, these are some of those. Next. And then if you are still preparing for seed funding, these spaces provide a lot of mentorship and opportunities for you to practice your pitching seed accelerators at a glance. Next. And then once you establish yourself and you're ready for that growth stage from the launch stage, these are some firms, some angel firms that do some growth stage investing. Next. As you can see, there's numerous avenues in Boston. Next. And then these are just individuals that I've listed out that it doesn't have to be a formal company that is going to invest. Sometimes they're just individual people, the entrepreneurs that Cindy mentioned that will be willing to partner with you or make introductions or see where you are and give you feedback. So a lot of it is approaching. A lot of it is tapping on someone's shoulder and asking for help. So this is just a demonstration of that. But these are some people that do these types of things that are open and are used to being tapped upon. Next. And then these are just some venture capital firms. So on the later stage of your entrepreneurial journey, you'll be working with some of these firms.
All right, so Boston has a lot, and if you do come over here, let us know. Or when you do, not if you do, when you do, let us know. We'd be happy to, give you a tour and love to see you be successful here and see what resources there are to tap into. So hopefully over the last 2 evenings, you've really understood the design thinking process. Because we presented it in the beginning, and now you've gone through it yourself and you kind of see how it works and what the questions are, and how having a problem is really the biggest starting point, having a relevant problem, and then what you need to do to get to the main components of your problem to build a good solution and make it relevant. And then today, hopefully, you picked up a bit of relevant information about what questions you need to answer in terms of how to prove your product or service can be successful, what objective metrics you need, thinking through what you need to show to de-risk it to investors to say this is a safe bet for you, business modeling, and how you think about how your product gets to your person or your person gets to your product, and then a bit about funding strategies and what you need to be prepared with to go ask somebody for all of the good money you need. So hopefully this has all given you some good information to go forward. Take these worksheets, go back to your own companies and think through from the beginning. Step back from your solution and think through from the very first step. Does it change anything that you're doing now? Does it make you ask new questions? Does thinking through design versus good design help you improve any aspect of it? Maybe not the technology itself, but how you are interfacing with the community around you or with the resources you have. So that was the goal of this workshop, was to just introduce concepts and give you tools that you can go take and apply to anything. So we love your feedback, and hopefully we've accomplished all of those goals. So finally, we'd just like to invite you all to participate in MIT's Hacking Medicine Grand Hack. This is an annual event which is normally in person in Boston in the spring, but it was postponed this year and will now be virtual from October 2nd to 4th. It is a full weekend hackathon, so it's Friday through Sunday, and you start with an idea. We give you some big topics. We form teams. There will be plenty of people from all over the world, and it's really a global event, so don't worry about not being in Boston and not having the same full experience. It is a very tiring weekend, but really rewarding, and it goes through all of these same design principles that we went through, but on a much bigger scale. So the link at the top of the page is how you can sign up. And also you can sign up to be a mentor if you think you can mentor in certain areas. So we would love to see you all signing up. The winners, there are several winners of the Grand Hack, and we are able to provide winners with cash prizes as well as admittance to certain incubators and accelerators and direct access to mentoring. So a lot of the benefit in this is giving you, once you have shown us you have a good idea, we give you the money and the direct access to the next steps to go forward without having to pay for it. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to get in touch with Fatima or myself. We've had a wonderful time presenting to you all this weekend, not this weekend, these past 2 days, and we love it. You can give a hand to your team on the ground there, your facilitators from BTA. They've been fantastic working with us for the past several weeks to put this together. So thank you to all of you guys for helping us out. I can't hear clapping, but I'm going to assume everybody's very excited for you. So Matt, it was very lovely working with you all this weekend. So hopefully you had a good time and you learned something.
Yes, it was
Yes.
great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
wonderful
night.
day. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And that's the end.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, great job, everybody. So I'm very talkative, so I still want to talk more.